A major storm threatening the West Coast, Hurricane Hilary has now intensified into a powerful Category 4 storm as it nears Cabo San Lucas in Mexico. That storm could also bring heavy rain, flooding, and powerful winds to California's Baja in the southwest this weekend.
Hurricane Hilary is expected to weaken as it heads north, but if it hits California as a tropical storm, it would be a rare and unprecedented event, the first one to do so in 84 years. So we begin this hour with our meteorologist, Derek Van Dam. I think anyone waking up this morning hearing a hurricane is headed toward Southern California is going to be very confused, as I was, 'cause it doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah, you got to go back to 1939, the last time we had a tropical storm make landfall in Southern California. So this is significant, and people are going to be caught off guard with this system. We're closely monitoring it, but this storm intensified by 75 miles per hour just in the past 24 hours. So it is a Cat 4, winds right now at 145 miles per hour. When will we feel the impacts? Well, the Baja Peninsula right here, this is part of Mexico, of course, they'll feel impacts by Saturday morning. But as early as Saturday evening into Southern California, certainly into the day on Sunday, and once again on Monday across much of the southwestern U.S. But this storm is going to encounter some significantly cooler water compared to where it's moving across right now. And this is going to significantly weaken the storm as it approaches California. But it's likely, and there's explicit wording from the National Hurricane Center, that this will still pack the punch of a tropical storm as it reaches, let's say, San Diego, perhaps into Los Angeles. Now, this is a game of miles. If this storm stays offshore, we have more coastal impacts, erosion, large waves, rip currents, and even the urban flooding just because of the proximity to the larger cities. But if it moves inland, it starts to get sheared apart by the Baja Peninsula. It brings the flash flood and wind threat more inland. Certainly mudslides and the flooding is a big concern here, as the potential exists for upwards of a year's worth of rain, if not more, out of this storm system within a period of a day or two, really. A significant rainfall threat for much of the southwestern U.S., including our largest populations from L.A. to San Diego. Poppy, Phil?
A year's worth of rain. Derek, we keep you agile in your job. There's no shortage of weather events and climate issues you're dealing with. We've been following these wildfires in Canada. They have thousands under evacuation orders. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, I mean, look at the smoke just billowing out from these fires across the Northwest Territory. And the fires that are impacting Yellowknife, with over 20,000 people being evacuated from this capital city, this is significant because we have a cold front that's going to move through this area. So what that'll do is bring the potential for thunderstorms. So more ignition chances for additional fires to form. Of course, we need the rain, but it won't be enough to really quell the wildfires because the winds will pick up with the passage of this front. 25 to 35 miles per hour, not to mention the degradation of the quality of our air that we continue to breathe across the Midwest. We have air quality alerts stretching from central Canada all the way into the northern portions of the country. And just look at this, Poppy and Phil, this year's wildfire burned acres eclipsing the past 40 years for Canada.
Wow, that puts everything into perspective. Derek Van Dam, thank you on both fronts.
And this just in this morning, keep in mind, with Hurricane Hilary heading towards the West Coast, FEMA is already running out of disaster relief money, and that's before the Atlantic hurricane season even really starts to ramp up. It's been a record-breaking year with more than a dozen billion-dollar weather disasters coast to coast, from catastrophic flooding to tornado outbreaks to crippling winter storms. And that's not even counting the recent historic floods across the Northeast and that devastating Maui wildfire that has become the deadliest U.S. fire in over a century.
So a FEMA official tells CNN the agency's relief fund could be used up by the end of this month unless Congress acts. Priscilla Alvarez joins us live at the White House this morning. Well, that's terrifying. Is there an assurance Congress will act?
Well, it's going to be top of mind when they return. But the bottom line when I talk to officials about this is that it would delay that critical recovery if FEMA does not get these funds. As you mentioned there, it's been a record-breaking year for expensive disasters, and that's put an intense strain on their funds, which could be depleted by mid to end of August. Now, the White House has been monitoring this, and in their supplemental request to Congress, they included an additional $12 billion for these funds. Now, the FEMA administrator was asked about this at a White House briefing this week, and she also conceded that they have enough funds for the initial response to Maui, but they still need more to get all the recovery there. Take a listen.
We have enough funding to support the ongoing response efforts because we take events like this into consideration. But it would delay, if we don't have additional funding, it would delay some of the recovery projects and push them into next year.
Now, a FEMA official also tells me that a lot of these funds go to prep. So if we know that hurricane is coming, for example, that you just mentioned, or any other sort of natural disaster, they can start to send supplies and people there knowing that there's going to have to be recovery efforts on the back end. But if they don't have those funds, they may not be able to do that work. And so all of that would slow down recovery. So, of course, this is fueling concern within the agency, and the ask is going to Congress for them to work on this as these natural disasters continue to happen.
Congress that is not currently in session for the month of August, and that supplemental request included Ukraine funding too. So the pathway right now still very up in the air. It's very important reporting. Priscilla Alvarez, thank you.